All right, everybody, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, starting next week, it is the 2022 Hercules Tire MAAC Basketball Championships at Jim Whalen's Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, March 8th through the 12th. You can get your tickets at boardwalkhall.com. Right now, the number one seed is Iona. Their head coach, Rick Pitino, joins me right here on a Sports Bash Thursday on 97.3 ESPN. Coach, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Good to have you, and your team obviously is having a ton of success this year. They won this tournament last year, and I guess, you take a look at the tournament coming to Atlantic City and finally having people in the place. This has got to be a different experience for your club. Now, you've been all over the place doing, big-time tournaments, but for your kids to finally get a chance to be in a building for a tournament with people in there might be something pretty different.
Especially with so much at stake. You're talking about an NCAA berth in a one-bid league. At least it's been that way for most of the history of the MAAC. It could change this year, but right now we're sitting on top. We're a target, and we realize that we have to play great basketball to come away victorious, and hopefully we'll be able to do it.
Coach, obviously, if people are saying, all right, Rick Pitino's the coach of this team's really good, give us a little background on your team and, how you've gotten to this point. Obviously, successful 23-5, dominating in the tournament. But what kind of Rick Pitino team are the Gales this year?
Well, we have experience. We have two fifth-year senior guards who transferred in from SMU and Tulsa. They're 6'3", 6'4", so good size in the backcourt. We have a fifth-year senior at the power forward, Gill and Van Eyck. We have two good centers in Nelly Joseph Jr. and Osborne Shima. So we have really good experience. That helps. We have good depth. Not a great shooting team, just an average shooting team. And that puts us in some offensive droughts from time to time, but our defense takes us through and really, really has been the difference maker in a lot of games.
Coach, as we mentioned, you've been all around the major conferences, the Big East, the ACC, the Atlantic. I mean, you name it, you've seen it all. What is MAAC basketball for the people who are like, all right, I'm getting a ticket. What brand of basketball are they about to watch over the next week?
Well, it's outside of the center position, where I think the ACC or the SEC would be stronger. The MAAC is 1 through 4 at those positions, as good as any conference in America. They're tough inner city kids. This is an inner city conference. You're talking about St. Peter's from Jersey City. You're talking about Monmouth. You're talking about Manhattan and Iona, Canisius and Niagara up in Buffalo. So it's a group of teams that really feel that they don't get the spotlight as much as the other teams. They have a huge chip on their shoulder from what I gather in the short period of time I've been here. And they come to play. They bring it. They have a huge chip, and they're all good defensively, extremely well coached. And the nice thing about it is there's not a Duke where you look at the ACC this year and do you feel Duke's going to win it? Well, a prohibitive favorite. Even though we're sit on top, we could have lost 5 or 6 games this year. We've trailed in the latter stages of a lot of games and had to make a comeback to win the game.
Coach, we've talked to a couple coaches, Baker Dunleavy, Shaheen Holloway, yourself, and it seems that you guys all have something in common, is a little Big East background. And I've been enjoying talking to those guys about their Big East roots, and you've got a couple of Big East roots. I would imagine that you just talked about inner city, that, these guys, this is like watching that brand of basketball, those tough kids that the Big East used to have, or kind of still has, but that all those guys as players went through and brought that to where their programs are now.
Well, before the Big East was broken up, we were fortunate at Louisville to win the last 2 championships back-to-back. We had an incredible team in 2013, and we won it the year before. So it certainly was thrilling. It certainly was a great time to play in the Big East. In the early years of Providence College, it was a lot different, a lot more physical, certainly, and I enjoyed those days as well. But the MAAC conference presents problems for all of us. We know on any given night, the last place team. Well, last year Fairfield, we were the 9th ranked team, not based on record, but based on we didn't play a lot of games because of COVID. And then the last place team was Fairfield, and we wound up playing in the final game.
You look back at your career. I mean, you started on the island of Hawaii. I don't even know. Do you even remember back then when you were starting out in Hawaii, and you've made your way all the way east here and everywhere in between? College basketball has evolved a lot. Do you still love this product? Do you still love the way the college basketball game is played?
Well, I think we got it. It was evolving into the right type of game, and it's taken a little bit of a step back this year in terms of the physicality being part of it again. And unfortunately, when you start letting all the bumping and grinding come in, you have less scoring. And that's what's happened a little bit in the last year. We did get adjusted. The way to get more scoring, I was in the NBA, and there was only one team breaking 100 points. And I was on a committee to try to get more scoring into the NBA. And David Stern, we came down to it. In the room was Pat Riley, UB Brown, myself, Larry Brown, Chuck Daly, and really what it came down to wasn't the technical parts of the game. It was calling more fouls. If you call more fouls, you stop the clock. Obviously, it's a dead ball situation in terms of the clock. You get 2 free throws. More scoring is done, and you start getting people to get off of you defensively. More freedom of movement, and the game is wide open. So that's what you see with the NBA product today. We were going in that direction, and we've taken a step back the last couple of years. I was over in Greece, so I didn't see it as much. But we're probably going to open it up a little bit more next year when they look at it again. There's a lot of people complaining about it.
He's the Basketball Hall of Famer, Rick Pitino, over 800 wins. You got that a couple of nights ago. I guess it was about a month ago now. And, 800 wins. We mentioned you started back in the early 70s at Hawaii. You're still standing. You see Coach K. He's at the end of the line here. Jimmy Boeheim's still going. There's a lot of guys that just are, when you think of college basketball, you mentioned the NBA, that your time in the NBA. And I always say here that coaching in college is so much more important in that game than in the NBA. Am I right or wrong about that?
Well, the NBA, you are the head of your, you are the man that really runs the team in terms of not necessarily all the technical aspects, but you're the CEO of your company. So you handle your team like a CEO. You're not handling them academically. You're not handling them disciplinarian-wise. You're the CEO, and you make some technical decisions, obviously, during the game, but it's not about player development. It's not about developing your guys off the court. Totally different type of coaching. Now, there's probably more game coaching that goes on at the NBA level because the game is longer. The game is more into scouting. The level of play is so high. I mean, how do you come down and what defense are you going to go with to stop Steph Curry? What defense are you going to go to stop Kevin Durant? Yeah. You're not going to trap the post. They shoot the ball so well. So it's a much more difficult game to coach at that level because the talent is so incredible.
Yeah, we're seeing it here in Philly with how do you come up with a defense coach for Joel Embiid and James Harden? Do you have any advice for any of the NBA coaches there?
Well, the one thing about James Harden, especially when he's in shape, he's one of the great passers in the game. When you think of Harden, you think of his scoring ability. But he throws bounce passes that are incredible, no-look bounce passes. And those two will team up to really make a great run. I mean, Embiid is he's one of 3 players that are out there for the MVP race. And certainly Harden, when you team him up with that type of passer, with the other weapons they have on that basketball team, it's going to be quite lethal. I would say Philadelphia is going to be really tough to beat. But Milwaukee's still Milwaukee, and the Nets, you just don't know what to think with the Nets and what's going to happen with them.
Rick Pitino, his Iona Gales, they'll be here in Atlantic City starting Tuesday night at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. They're the defending champions. The winner heads to the NCAA tournament, and you can get your tickets now at boardwalkhall.com. Hall of Famer Rick Pitino, kind enough to spend a couple of minutes with me right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, Coach, good luck. We'll see you over in Atlantic City, pal.
All right. Thanks for having me. Take care of yourself.
All right. That's Rick Pitino, everybody, here on the Sports Bash. Over 800 wins. And you take a look at it, 800 wins, 805, 282 losses. He's won 74% of his games and obviously has done it at many different places. He's at Iona now. He's the head coach of the Gales. They are the number 1 seed in the MAAC tournament, and that starts on Tuesday the 8th. And you can see all the action over at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. Good to catch up with the coach, the Hall of Famer. You know, he started at Hawaii. People don't remember that. He went from Hawaii to Syracuse as an assistant. Then he got his own team in Boston, went to the Knicks as an assistant in the NBA, got hired at Providence, went to the Knicks as the head coach. Then he went to Kentucky and then to Boston with the Celtics as the head coach. The Rick Pitino game, you know, so-and-so's not coming through that door, right? Louisville brought him in, and then he's also the Greek national team coach. And then after, 3 years away from college basketball, Iona, he is back, and he'll be in Atlantic City with his Gales. We'll have plenty more on the MAAC Basketball Championship, and you can check out more on our website, 973ESPN.com. As Josh wrote yesterday, the MAAC Basketball Championship is coming back to Atlantic City for next season as well. Thanks to Rick Pitino for joining me live here on the Sports Bash. When we come back, Jeff Nadeau, he likes college basketball. We'll talk a little college hoops. We'll talk a little Sixers. You just heard what Pitino had to say about Harden and Embiid. What does Jeff Nadeau think? We'll talk to the big man coming up next.